The pursuit of happiness may be a good movie, but it's a bad goal. It's a bad goal. And it's a bad goal because when we talk about happiness, I'm not specifically talking about gratifications. The pursuit of gratifications, that's a good goal. But when I talk about happiness, I'm talking about the pursuit of this momentary pleasure or this pleasurable experience that's sensory based. These feel-good emotions that are temporary and they're based on experiences and sensations. That feeling is a bad goal. Why? Number one, it's not a goal. And it's not sustainable. So let's deal with the sustainability first. It's not sustainable. The goal to be happy can never be reached because that would imply when you get there, you'll be happy forever. Why is that not possible? Why is that not sustainable? Because things change around you and you're going to experience things that, one, you're not going to be equipped to deal with them if you're always in a happy state, so to speak. Think about when you're just elated, just super happy, had the best moment, best minute, best 30 minutes, best day. You're just in a state of just euphoria, really just having a great time. Whatever it's from, a pizza, whatever it was that you were just doing, and you feel everything is just great and you're just happy, pleasurable experiences I'm talking about there. In that moment, how equipped are you to deal with something that goes wrong or a challenge or something that comes up in that specific moment?
You're not really equipped.
No, it's like, yeah, I don't care, right? Everything's good and you're just focused on just what. So that's the problem with having happiness be the goal. But yet you talk to people and there's a big misconception that happiness is the goal. It's the purpose of life. Everybody wants to be happier. And I think that that's wrong based on what I've read and what I understand. The goal for most people actually isn't to be happy. The goal for most people is not to be sad, depressed, or frustrated. And that's the difference. What's the difference? Well, if you spend your whole life thinking that or feeling, I'm here, I'm experiencing anxiety, I'm experiencing depression, I'm experiencing sadness, I'm experiencing pain, I'm experiencing suffering. Man, happiness is the antidote. That's the mentality, that's the mindset. If I could just be happier, I would feel better. And that may be true, but that's not a sustainable goal. You don't want to actually try to go from, I should say, unhappy or depressed or anxious to happy as the goal. Because why? It's not sustainable. So what happens if this doesn't last or something happens here? Where do you end up? Back here. And that's what most people do. It's a seesaw or a, what's the word? A swing, yeah, there's a word I'm looking for. A vicious cycle of people that are living in this state, this emotional state, whatever the negative emotional state is. And they're just constantly trying to escape that emotional state with what? With happiness, aka pleasurable experiences. Not the things that you all mentioned, which are meaningful. Those are what we do want to experience. But bigger than that, we don't want to try to escape negative emotions with self-medicating with pleasurable hedonistic experiences. And that's what the majority of most people do. And why wouldn't they, especially for you all in this day and age? If you're here and your emotional state is somewhat negative on a regular basis, more than ever in history, you have more opportunities or options or possibilities to be happy. Buy this, do this, shop here, eat this, go here. All on your phone. Instantly, you can push a button and get something that is pleasurable or a pleasurable experience. More than ever. So this temptation to experience happiness, aka a pleasurable experience, is around you more than ever. So there's the illusion that, well, if you're here, all you need to do is just this, and you'll be happy. Take your pick. But the problem is, when that wears off, where do you end up once again? Back here, because you're trying to escape a constant negative emotional state with a temporary pleasurable experience. That's not the answer. We're not binary creatures in a sense. Emotions are a lot more complicated than that. So are motivations. It's a lot more complicated than this. It's not just a binary happy or sad. And I think that a lot of people walk around with that illusion that if I'm sad, I should be happy. And if I'm sad, the only answer to this is to be happier. There's a middle ground. This is what I want you to understand today. There's a neutral area, a gray area, if you will. Not gray, but a middle ground, if you will. And I have the in there for neutral because it's in between these two. It's not positive or negative per se. But that is actually the goal and where you want to be. And I call this contentment. This is finding contentment in your life. You're not elated. You're not happy. There's no pleasurable experience. You're not ecstatic. There's no necessarily joy, but there's no pain either. You're here. And what's the beauty about being here? Here, you can appreciate and enjoy any pleasurable experience, but you're also equipped to deal with any negative one as well. and you have a home to return to, and a solid base and a foundation, and a perspective of both emotions. This is the goal. It's in between chaos and order, in a sense, to borrow a phrase from Jordan Peterson. It's in between the two. You don't want to live here, obviously, but you don't want to try to stay here. It's impossible. So this neutral ground, I call it contentment. It's finding contentment with where you are in certain ways, and we'll talk about that today, so that then you can experience the pleasures of life. Pleasure is great. Pleasure is awesome, but pleasure shouldn't be home, and it can't be. So if you think it should be, one of the reasons why a lot of people, and some of you all, are unhappy is because you're here and you think you should be here. Thinking you should be there is enough to make you unhappy, because that's an unrealistic goal or destination. Think about goals. Like I said, it's not a goal. What did I mean by happiness is not a goal? Well, think about a goal. When you achieve or attain a goal, when you get it, you have it. Your degree is a goal. When you get your degree, you have it forever. It doesn't go away. You don't lose it. Like, you've accomplished that goal. Then what do? Well, now I can do something else with this accomplishment. I can take the next step, apply to this job, do this part of my career, maybe get the next degree because I have this one. It's a stepping stone, and that's the way you need to think about goals. Goals should be steps that move you forward. This is an ultimate destination. Where do you go after you achieve, if you could achieve happiness for a lifetime? Where do you go after that? You just sit and wallow in it and experience it and think that everything else in life is just going to not matter anymore? It's not realistic. So this is not a destination. This is an experience, and there's nothing wrong with it, but understand it. It's not a destination, it's an experience. You can set out to go have a pleasurable evening, but to think that I should have that pleasurable experience that I had that evening all the time and never return to here, you're throwing yourself off, and you're going to cause even more depression in your life. This middle ground is the goal. This is where you want to live, somewhere in this range where you have perspective of both and you have a balance, that neutral ground, that contentment where you can enjoy positive experiences and pleasurable experiences, and you can set out to have those intentionally, but also you're at a place where you can manage and deal with these negative emotions and negative experiences and return to somewhere that you're not suffering and trying to escape all the time. Does this make sense with you? Yes or no? Yeah. Good? Okay. Any questions about this concept? And I'm going to just really elaborate on how to do that, but also more so on these two ends of the extreme. These ends of the spectrum. This is my take, and I've spent a lot of time teaching this chapter, but also really looking at this concept and talking to people and understanding why we're unhappy. And there's a lot of reasons why, but one of them is this simple concept of we're chasing the wrong thing and we have the wrong idea. There's nothing wrong with feeling a negative emotion. These things are great motivations. They're important. They're messages. They're signals. And I think that I thought about your comment last classes, and it was something to the effect of, I wish I could just not think. And then we talked about that, or at least I did, and I think I knew what you meant by that, which was, I wish I could just not think the negative thoughts. And this is what most people spend their lives doing. I wish I could just not feel, it's not that I want to be happy all the time, I just wish I could not feel the negative feelings that I feel on a regular basis. Same concept. And to try and not feel the negative feelings, we try to escape with positive ones. But it's that juggling act, that cycle back and forth. So if we're here and this is our home, then we can experience those, but we can come back to somewhere else. So I put this up here just to get a visual of what I'm talking about as far as the spectrum. And you've got to find out where you are and where you're living. Some of you all are closer to this as it is, and you're better equipped to deal with this, and you don't look to that as your savior. But some of you all really are here. You feel trapped. You don't know what to do. And the best day of your week is the day where you spend all day over here. And oftentimes there's drugs and alcohol involved to get there for most people. Am I lying? No. Right? And when that wears off, you're back here. We're going to talk about that. And that's the hedonic treadmill. So this is just a concept that I want you all to have in your mind as we talk about this chapter and I go through these things.